So, the Czech Republic had an election, and they call it a right-wing anti-Ukrainian guy won. Doesn't sound too good. Let's hope we don't have another Orban there. Let's see what's behind it. I'm not that educated on it. Let's take a look. Might even ChatGPT it. And who this guy is. The right wing is winning everywhere. When people are in bad shape, they always hope extremists will save them.
On Friday and Saturday, Czechia went to the polls to elect their next government. And to almost no one's surprise, given how appallingly unpopular the incumbent government has been, the election was won by ANO, the main opposition party, led by Czech billionaire Andrej Babiš, and
another billionaire, man. Let's go.
Described as populist in the...
You don't have a lot of leaders anymore in the world that are like bus drivers or coming from a mine, huh?
Press. So in this video, we're going to explain what went wrong for the Czech government, the election results themselves, and what ANO's success means for both Czechia and the EU.
I'm from Czech. I voted Spolu, and Babiš is more pro-Trump than anti-Ukraine. And he's not pro-Russia. I would argue he's anti-Ukraine. What I read in the article is he is about to halt all shipments of artillery shells to Ukraine, which I think they, since the beginning of the war, they have shipped millions of artillery shells to Ukraine. And he wants to fully halt that now.
By now, you've probably seen the headline.
Never miss an episode and always feel in the loop by subscribing and ringing the bell. So let's start with a bit of context. Czech politics is currently dominated by two major political forces. The centre-right coalition Spolu, meaning together in Czech, and the catch-all populist movement ANO, which translates to yes. ANO is led by billionaire agricultural magnate Andrej Babiš, and was in government from 2017 to 2021. Now, it's difficult to really pin down ANO's politics.
Didn't Czechia once have this leader that looked like a model? With the white beard and stuff, who like really good? Where did he happen to him? Where is he?
They don't really fit neatly on
like
the
sexiest
left-right
man.
axis. In certain respects, ANO are quite left-wing.
He's the president.
ANO used to be in the centrist Renew grouping in the European Parliament, and in their first term, Babiš implemented a number of nominally left-wing policies, like expanding the Czech welfare state and
Wait. So they're left. This is super interesting. They did a lot of left-wing stuff. Like, they're not an AFD.
Increasing public sector salaries. Similarly, their electoral program includes a number of left-coded policies, like capping the retirement age at 65, guaranteeing affordable housing,
sounds great,
and more benefits for families. However, ANO have also adopted some policies that are generally associated with
left-wing populism. That exists? Left-wing populism?
They're pretty Eurosceptic. They're
like
generally opposed to immigration, as well as so-called green policies, or at least those that push up energy costs for Czech households. Either way, it's probably true that ANO have drifted to the right in recent years, as evidenced by the fact that Babiš appeared at CPAC in 2023 and co-founded the right-wing Patriots for Europe group last year, which includes other parties like Geert Wilders' PVV and Marine Le Pen's National Rally. Anyway, due to a severe fallout from the COVID pandemic, where Czechia went through prolonged lockdowns and suffered one of the highest mortality rates in the world, ANO lost the 2021 election to the newly formed Spolu party.
This once again feels like the basic fallacy and paradox of democracy. Whoever leads a country will die. Look at your whole life, right? Whoever wins an election within 4 years will be a fucking loser and be voted out. In Germany, whoever leads Germany will lose the next election after the great 16 years of Angela Merkel.
Is led by political science professor.
Because whatever you do, people will fucking hate you.
And
they will save us 4 years later. Fuck them.
Composed of the conservative ODS,
I don't like the current
Christian
thing.
Democratic KDU-CSL.
I one day wonder if we have populism winning, like we had in Italy, and maybe one day in Germany, right? How we will think after 4 years after that. One issue, though, that people have or think about is that when a populist comes into power, and even if they lose the next election 4 years later, they are able to do a lot of damage. We just have to look at Donald Trump, right? With the immense damage he's already done to his country
and the liberal
and
conservative Top 09. Spolu won 28% of the vote to ANO's 27%, and subsequently entered government with two other parties, the Liberal Mayors and Independents movement and the more progressive Pirates Party. Unfortunately for Spolu and Fiala, things started to go downhill almost immediately. The government came to power at the height of Europe's energy crisis and reacted by capping energy prices and subsidizing the difference, costing the state hundreds of billions of crowns. Czechia's public finances were already in a bit of a state thanks to the tax break passed by the former government, but this energy package, plus increased defense spending, forced the government to implement some controversial cuts elsewhere. They reduced pension valorizations and increased the retirement age from 65 to 67
They always go against the people
while increasing taxes on property ownership, small businesses, and working people. All at a time when inflation was eating away at living standards, with Czech seeing the steepest declines in real wages across the OECD.
Wow. Hourly wage change. Hungary and Poland doing great, but then again, they started from lower. Israel, Korea, Portugal, Mexico. Germany even had a negative.
This was all exacerbated by a confused media strategy. And Fiala, who hasn't helped himself by stubbornly insisting everything is going fine, quickly became incredibly unpopular. Morning Consult polling reliably had him as Europe's least popular leader, with the latest polling putting him ahead of only the...
Macron is the least loved leader. Who is Modi? Sorry, who is Modi? Who is Modi? Albanese, Carney, Millet. India. Modi is India.
Battled Emmanuel Macron, and on a net approval rating of negative 58. Unsurprisingly, Spolu's shortcomings have led to a cratering in the polls, and they've been stuck at about 20% for the past couple of years. Conversely, despite leaving office with pretty miserable approval ratings in 2021, ANO have surged in the polls, hovering at around 30% since late 2022. This has translated to a number of victories.
The next German election is going to be
at the European election in 2024, for instance, ANO won 26% of the vote, to Spolu's 22%. And in the Czech local elections of September that year, they won an astonishing 35% of the vote, to Spolu's 24%. While Babiš himself lost the 2023 election to Petr Pavel, this was largely because Pavel had a unique cross-party appeal, and ANO were very much the bookies' favourites going into yesterday's election. It was therefore no surprise when late Saturday evening, the Czech Election Committee announced that ANO had indeed won the election by a sizable margin, with 35% of the vote to Spolu's 23%. Czechia uses a broadly proportional electoral
Czech Pirate
system,
Party is
albeit
doing well.
with a relatively high vote threshold of 5%.
Ukraine is Gondor, and they urgently need Rohan's help, but instead, Rohan does not want to escalate the conflict and sends 2 horsemen every 3 months.
Weird comment. Thank you for 10 euros. Okay, I don't know what to say to that. That was great, buddy. What the fuck? Thank you.
Which slightly advantages larger parties, and that means ANU's vote share translated to 80 seats in the 200-seat Chamber of Deputies, while Spolu won just 52. This does still mean that ANO will have to rely on the support of smaller parties in order to pass legislation, but if their first term's anything to go by, they'll still be very much the dominant player in any supply and confidence arrangement. So what happens next? Well, ordinary Czechs will be hoping that ANO can get the Czech economy back up and running, like it was in their first term.
I both
While there were widespread concerns about
but
corruption,
then as always, let's wait in 4 years. Did they fix something? Generally interesting, right?
Backsliding during Babiš's stint, it's hard to deny that the economy did do better under Babiš, who promised to run the country, quote, like a business, and the economy was certainly stronger than it was under Spolu. Between 2017 and 2021, for instance, when ANO was leading a minority government, GDP growth averaged at 4%, roughly on par with similar regional economies. While Czechia did suffer a deeper recession than most during the pandemic, which is one of the big reasons Babiš was kicked out in 2021, the post-pandemic recovery under Spolu has been conspicuously sluggish, with GDP growth averaging at less than 1.3% between 2022 and 2024.
It's weird how the economy did better before COVID, huh? Yeah.
The lowest in the region. For the EU, though, the risk is that Babiš...
Running a country like a business always works. It looks like if someone says they're going to run a country like a business, it's going to be their business and their
finds European
gains.
unity at a time when it's most needed. Babiš isn't outspoken as skeptic as, say, Orban is, but his manifesto promises to put Czech interests first and not obey Brussels unconditionally. Similarly, Babiš isn't an enthusiastic supporter of Ukraine. Though ANO initially supported military aid to Ukraine in early 2022, by June 2022, Babiš was calling for an end to Czech military aid, stating that the objective of preventing a Russian takeover of the entirety of Ukraine had been achieved, and he positioned himself...
he's arguing Ukraine is safe now, so we can stop.
...as a pro-peace candidate at the 2023 presidential election, calling for negotiations to end the war, and implicitly trying to frame Pavel as pro-war. While this year's manifesto only says ANO, quote, will support diplomatic steps to end the war in Ukraine.
I don't want to be an asshole, bro, but you think anyone that decides peace in Ukraine gives a shit about what the Czechs have to say?
Babiš has previously explicitly opposed Ukraine's prospective EU membership, describing it as, quote, a complete catastrophe in 2024. Ultimately, we live in a world where growing geopolitical...
Okay, so they have in the Czech Republic.
She slipped through my fingers like sand. Heard that she had a man. Now I'm just sitting here sad. Oh well, ship sail. She slipped through my fingers like sand.